Maybe, yeah.
Maybe so. But for now, let's go ahead and go to our next caller here. I want to get to Malachi, who's calling from Ohio. Hey, Malachi, what's going on?
Hey, hey, Dan. Been a listener for a while, first-time caller, and I love all the ACA shows. You guys are doing awesome things, great work, and it's a lot of fun to listen to all the shows every week. And since you guys were talking about homeopathy, I wanted to kind of bring up a topic because it is about Truth Wanted, and I'm just I've kind of been on a personal mission to find out the truth of what is meat and dairy a health risk, like to humans?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is not like all these. I don't want to get into like these other buzzwords that can cause like a lot of distractions from the topic if people get into whether they love or hate veganism and all that stuff, because that's not really what the point is of why I call it. It's more of like
what's the health science? What's the scientific perspective on kind of these things, which is really interesting.
Right.
I'll be upfront and honest and say I look at it like, if you ask me about pseudo archaeology, I'm down. If you want to talk to me about aliens or all kinds of shit, like I'll tell you about the Project Camelot and all this kind of crazy bullshit that's out there. But health science stuff, I'm not a super big expert on, because I don't know. Like, it's like we're kind of talking about earlier. It's harder to kind of suss out a lot of those claims because there's so many conflicting scientific studies on a lot of different stuff, right? Like,
it gets interesting. So what have you researched, Malachi?
Well, I found I came across this Dr. Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org, and just from watching a bunch of his videos and on his site, it seems, I mean, I've had some people say bad things about him, like he's biased, but really just from looking at the sources that he cites, and he directly talks about the studies and where the money comes from and who's sourcing the study, and he was really pretty transparent about where the data is coming from and whether it's a good study or it's questionable and how they perform the study. So from a personal perspective, it seems like he's really honestly trying to find the studies that are valid and actual, like, good information. I'll tell you, this is just a population study, so it's not a great, like, indicator of a cause, or this one is a double-blind placebo study, so this is a really great, source of information. So I've read a lot of stuff on his site. And what's interesting, and the thing that the specific part that I think it seems like a lot of people don't know about, or that no one really talks about, is this IGF-1. It's a natural human growth hormone. So like when you're like an infant, like it's a natural thing. It helps you grow. And but according to these studies, is that when you eat animal products, it basically like causes your body to create a lot more of this stuff. And when you're an adult and you're basically pumping your body full of these growth hormones, it's kind of like crack or like speed for cancer and like growing the growth of cancer cells. And they use it it helps them grow faster and become stronger, and because they're already out of control. And so dairy is basically, like it's the intentions of milk is to get a baby calf like walking in like a couple weeks. It's like it gains like hundreds of pounds. So that's kind of like that makes a lot of sense to me. It seems like it's pretty logical.
Quick question on the Malachi. When you say that it encourages the growth of cancer cells, do you mean cancer cells that are already present in the body? Because that seems to make more sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Like not actually causing cancer cells, right?
Right. Yeah. Because that's a whole nother like topic of like, well, how do cancer cells start? And from what I've read through a lot of this research is, like cancer cells are starting every day, all the time. They're free radicals and damaged DNA, and it's just whether or not your body's able to handle it and destroying those cells. And every once in a while, one gets out of control and they can't get a handle on it, and so just from reading this research, my perspective on cancer has changed a lot because it's more of like a multi-step process. And I was kind of concerned that I was doomed based on like genetics because there's a lot of cancer in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to keep talking, like take over your show because I know you guys like to keep a conversation.
No. Well,
No.
first of all, thanks for being a longtime listener of this program and other programs, Malachi. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. I think, too, one of the things that I would like to see more of in the research is paying attention to people's genetic backgrounds. Because not only do we adapt to our environment, we adapt our environment to us. And I suspect that in some cases, meat and dairy may be more detrimental to people of certain backgrounds than others. Backgrounds that say, for instance, don't eat as much meat and dairy.
Yeah.
And as for growth, I mean, I think there's a joke about McDonald's must be bad for everybody, except the Japanese have gained half a foot in height since the introduction of it, so how can it be bad? Some sort of joke along those lines. As we spread the Western style of eating across the world.
Yeah. And we do see more kinds of cancer in the United States that we don't see in Eastern countries as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I have.
Yeah, it's the China study.
Yeah.
There's a misconception that it's a book about veganism, which it's really not. It's a book about the study of blue zones, which are areas where people are living consistently over 100 years old. And the thought was, well, we need to study these people and find out why are they living longer than everyone else? Like, what are they eating? What are they doing? How are they living? And the general consensus is that they're eating very, very small portions of meat or animal products and not on a regular basis, very small servings, like once or a week, or a very, they do lots of exercise. They're outdoor people in rural China and these areas. So it's really interesting that and even in Africa, same thing. And as soon as they start, latching onto this American or Western-based diet where it's low fiber, high protein, it changes your gut biome, and it really kind of changes your digestive tract and kind of destroys your whole digestive system.
But is the standard American diet really high protein, low fiber?
Well,
today?
According to the research that I've been looking at, overwhelmingly yes, because most of us are overproteined and not nearly enough fiber because
the fiber I'd agree with.
Fiber causes all those colorectal issues and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing people having the cancer is because there's not enough fiber, and eating too much meat changes your gut biome. And so from what I've read is like you can distinguish clearly just by taking a bacteria sample. You can instantly tell who's eating meat and who's not.
Right.
And it's really interesting stuff. It's
the reason why I asked the question is because the standard American diet is pretty high on fast food. Most fast foods decrease the meat content whenever they can and increase the carbohydrate, which is why when you go to like Taco Bell and you get a burrito, the burritos have a lot of rice in them because that rice is filler to take place of the meat. And that's true of a lot of Mexican restaurants, even though that may not be traditional Mexican food. And McDonald's, of course, you're eating a quarter pound of meat and then two big, huge buns and a whole bunch of fries. That's why I kind of asked the question, is the standard American diet really high in protein? Over the last, say, 10, 20 years, as more people are eating out.
Yeah.
And restaurants are trying to reduce costs, and meat is more expensive than rice.
Yeah.
right.
I don't know.
But I don't think the rice is really as, when you compare it to something like broccoli or any kind of vegetable, the fiber comparison, like it doesn't even.
I agree with you on the fiber. It's the protein side of the house that I'm questioning.
So I will
and
say,
I'm picking on rice for rice for any carbohydrate, bread,
So I want to take the conversation back a little bit because I just looked this up to confirm this because this was something I'd always heard and I just wanted to confirm that the World Health Organization does classify processed meats, including ham, salami, and bacon, as a Group 1 carcinogen.
Right.
Meaning that they do have strong evidence that processed meats do cause cancer in people, which is really interesting. And the history of carcinogens, and this is what I do know, is pretty awful in the sense of the science of it was really bad. So like if you go back to the 90s and even in the 80s and these times where we were developing new techniques and new ways of kind of looking at this stuff, there were these scientists who were quick to the gun of saying, this is causing cancer, this is causing cancer, this is doing, and then and so people became almost distrustful in a lot of different health claims after that because like everything was causing cancer. There's like joke, like I'm pretty sure even like Jerry Seinfeld they had jokes about this kind of stuff.
It's been a joke for a while.
And so like now it's hard to, when you talk about, okay, well what doesn't cause cancer, most people are really confused about this kind of stuff. I'm confused. I had to look up whether the meats thing was just something I heard one time or if that's like a fact that's verified by, the World Health Organization, right? So it's tough looking at this stuff.
The classifications, from what I understand, is it's not how easily or how you'll get cancer from it. It's how, like, the class number signifies like how confident they are that it's linked to cancer.
Right.
So like asbestos and like cancer and cigarettes are like those are like class 1 because they know like they are very very.
Oh yeah, and let's talk about
that's pretty
Let's talk about this, too, because we've had entire industries like the cigarette industry saying, oh, no, this stuff doesn't cause cancer. So you have, like, basically propaganda out there that says otherwise. Right. And just the general populace, I think, especially in this country, is just confused on what to eat.
Yeah, definitely.
Now we have fake news. And it's really frustrating for me because I think we should be able to get the truth out there for people so that they can digest it and decide for themselves, like, if they believe it or not. But it seems like our history, like you've been talking about, is just making it so difficult. People say, oh, we're going to die from something. Yeah. We're going to get cancer from somewhere. And, like, no one really takes it seriously. And it's just kind of bums me out because I'm like, I want to try to give myself the best chance of, not getting into one of these scenarios.
Right.
And,
so it's what's the best method? What's the best method as a skeptic? Is it the Atkins diet? Is it the keto diet? Is it becoming a vegan? It's hard even for myself. I definitely don't have the answer.
Well, when you start looking like keto and paleo and some of these diets that the high performance athletes, whether they're professional or amateur, start touting, one of the things that I find interesting is start here and then do what works for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what tells me that there's something else going on, that maybe we also need to look at genetics. I know 23andMe has been sending me some surveys on my health and diet stuff. So they may be trying to do some research into that. And I think the real problem is that it is complicated. It's not easy. And anytime you try and soundbite it or try to calories in, calories out as a shorthand way of saying a lot of stuff, but 1,000 calories of carrots and 1,000 calories of Snickers.
Yeah, let's talk about. I mean, and I want to get to the end of this call soon so we can move on. But let's talk about the fact that even our own government has put out the food pyramid, and that has changed over the years because that previous stuff wasn't even accurate for that. And, in the public school system, you always get a milk carton with everything you do because the dairy industry is out there putting this thing saying, hey, milk is really great for you.
And pizza's a
strong, got milk, right? And pizza's a vegetable, too. But it's just like they have their hands in this stuff, too, with putting out these products.
Well,
it's like
that's the problem.
Like, people have interest in selling their goods and saying, like, oh, this is the best thing for you. And I was a kid who grew up thinking, yeah, milk is the best thing ever. And now I know more information that says, oh, milk may not actually be super great for you all the time.
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's a really great. I think it's on YouTube. It's free. It's What the Health.
Yes,
but it's
I've seen a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what's really interesting about that, along the lines of what you're talking about, is plant-based or non-meat, only plant foods, no animal product diet is the only diet proven to reverse heart disease. Like, we know this for a fact. This is proven. We've known this for decades, but no one talks about it. And so what's interesting is in that What the Health documentary, the guy that I can't remember his name that did the film, he's looking at websites like the Heart Association, and they have diet plans on there that include food and diets that we know are not, they don't promote like healthy cardiovascular health.
Well, you know that arteriosclerosis and some of that research that was done back in the 50s, 60s, has been shown to have been heavily influenced by the sugar industry.
See? More industries in our science, people. Right. I don't like it.
And that we may actually have, that some of the newer research kind of shows that it is not fat content in meat that causes arteriosclerosis. It may actually be carbohydrates that actually do that. And I forget how it all breaks down, but
there's a lot of factors. Like when you even it's hardening of your arteries, even based on the things that you eat. So like if you eat a meal and it has butter in it, for example, and you whatever, you have a piece of bread with some butter on, and you're eating some spaghetti, having your natural like Italian meal, and that butter is going to, for the next 4 to 6 hours, harden your arteries and restrict your blood flow. And so now, like, you kind of get a little bit of that lethargic feeling, and that's the beginning of how that arteriosclerosis starts. Like, that's how you start damaging arteries.
Right, and there is research that shows that it actually is the body's attempt to protect the arteries from an irritant. And the irritant is not, in fact, butter and the fat content of meat and things like that. And there's some really, really good stuff over on Mark's Daily Apple. He's
interesting.
Yeah. And he goes and also does the same thing.
But anyway, just to summarize, right? I don't know what the best thing is in terms of health. I want the truth. The truth is wanted for the best healthy diet. Absolutely. So if you think you know the truth about what the best thing is, send me an email, truth@atheist-community.org. I would like to know, because this is something I do not know enough about, and I would like to know more, and I want to have more interesting conversations because I think it's something cool to explore. But Malachi, thanks so much for calling in. I appreciate the interesting topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Also, industries, stop getting in my science. All right. I just want to know. Just want to know what's good for me. Yeah.
There's more to the world than profit. There are people over profit.
Yeah, and it's like, as I do know that, especially in the United States, we have problems of food deserts where people can't get access to the healthiest food and stuff, and that's big contributions from. I remember the stuff from Super Size Me. You know, when people are like, oh, like if just people incorporated more balanced diets and weren't eating a lot of this fast food, that's really all you need. It's just something balanced. But I don't even know what balanced means anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And if you only have fast food within, that is convenient to cook, and when you're working 3 jobs and you're still not able to make rent, cheap food is what you need, and you don't need to spend, and you can't spend a lot of time cooking it. Well, guess what? You're on the McDonald's and Taco Bell value meal.
Yeah, or looking up what's good for you even. And part of it is, one, it's a knowledge thing. Another thing is you could know, and I think a lot of people do know, like, okay, I know this is good for me. Like, eating a salad every once in a while is good, but they can't even do that sometimes.
Well, sometimes not even available, right? Unless, McDonald's has salads, but...
it's not... Yeah.
But they're more expensive than they're not on the dollar meal.
Yeah, that's true. They're not dollar menu stuff either. Yeah.
So, if you're constrained by time and or money, then you're probably not eating the healthiest things.
Probably not. But anyway, if somebody has some amazing diet they want to tell me about, I'd be interested to hear. But until we